If your heart feels heavy tonight, this psalm is for you. Not because you search for it, not because someone sent it to you, but because quietly your soul needed something deeper than words. Take a slow breath, not to relax, but to arrive. Because what you're about to hear is not just scripture. It is a hidden prayer within this psalm. There are moments when life doesn't collapse. It simply weighs. Nothing dramatic happens. No loud tragedy. No clear disaster. Just a quiet pressure that builds over time. Bills that don't wait. Decisions that feel too big. Thoughts that return every night. Even when you're exhausted. You smile during the day. You function. You answer messages. But inside, something feels exposed. Unsafe. Modern life teaches us how to be productive, but it rarely teaches us how to feel protected. And fear today doesn't always look like danger. It looks like anticipation, like responsibility, like the feeling that if you stop paying attention for 1 second, everything might fall apart. That's why this psalm still matters. Psalm 9:1 was not written for calm seasons. It was written for people who needed refuge while still standing. And hidden inside it, there is a prayer not obvious at first glance, but powerful when spoken slowly. A hidden prayer within this psalm is not about asking God to remove every problem. It is about asking Him to remain present while you walk through them. Because protection, in the biblical sense, is not the absence of threat. It is the presence of covering. Think about your life right now. What are you trying to protect yourself from? Is it anxiety about tomorrow? Fear of making the wrong decision? The weight of providing, choosing, enduring? Or maybe it's not something clear, just a constant sense of alertness, as if rest is never fully safe. We live in a world where being unguarded feels dangerous. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and slowly, we begin to believe that protection depends on us, on our planning, our control, our ability to predict outcomes. But deep down, you already know control is fragile. No plan can guard your heart at night. No strategy can silence fear at 3 a.m. No preparation can promise peace. That's where this psalm speaks. Not loudly, not aggressively, but with authority. Psalm 91 does not begin with action. It begins with position. Whoever dwells, not whoever understands everything, not whoever gets it right, but whoever dwells. To dwell means to remain, to stay, to live from that place. And hidden within that invitation is a hidden prayer within this psalm, a prayer that says, I choose to stay where you are, even when I don't understand what you're doing. This psalm speaks about traps, terror, arrows, disease, danger. In other words, it speaks the language of real life. And yet, it never speaks panic. It speaks presence. Because protection in Scripture is not fragile. It doesn't disappear when fear appears. It doesn't retreat when uncertainty grows. It covers. That's why so many people return to this psalm. In hospitals, in sleepless nights, before difficult conversations, during seasons they don't know how to name. Because inside these words, there's more than poetry. There's a hidden prayer within this psalm, waiting to be spoken slowly, waiting to be felt, waiting to become personal. And as we continue, this is not something to rush. Let the words breathe. Let the pauses speak. In the next block, we will enter the psalm itself, not as a reading for the mind, but as a prayer for the heart. Stay here, because the refuge you're searching for has already begun to open. Now slow everything down. There is nothing you need to rush toward, nothing you need to solve while listening. This psalm was never meant to be consumed. It was meant to be inhabited. As you hear these words, don't listen as a reader. Listen as someone being covered. Because what follows is not just scripture. It is a hidden prayer within this psalm. Spoken quietly, spoken with trust, spoken from a place of surrender. Psalm 91. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Pause here. To dwell means to remain, to stay when fear tells you to run, to trust proximity more than explanation. Hidden inside this first line is the beginning of the prayer. I choose to stay where you are. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. This is not a statement for perfect days. It is a declaration whispered by people who feel exposed. When the psalm says, I will say, it is teaching you to speak trust before fear speaks louder. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. The psalm does not deny danger. It names it. Traps exist, threats exist, unseen risks exist, but so does covering. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. This is not distant protection. This is closeness. Protection here is described as nearness, not distance. Hidden inside these words is a hidden prayer within the psalm. Hold me close enough that fear cannot reach me. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart, not your strength, not your preparation, not your emotional stability. His faithfulness. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the destruction that lays waste at noon. Night and day. The psalm covers both, the fears you name, and the fears you don't understand yet. The terror of night is quiet. It arrives when distractions are gone. The arrows of day come suddenly, emails, news, conversations, decisions. And yet the psalm says, you will not fear, not because nothing happens, but because something greater remains. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. This is not a promise of isolation. It is a promise of distinction. That fear does not get authority over you. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked, because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, the Most High, who is my refuge. This line returns us to beginning, dwelling, remaining, staying. The prayer repeats itself, because fear often returns. No harm will overtake you. No disaster will come near your tent, for He will command His angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. Now that you've heard the words, let's bring them into your real life, because Psalm 91 was never meant to stay in ancient times. It survives because it still speaks. And hidden inside it, quietly, consistently, there's a hidden prayer within the psalm that answers one of the deepest modern questions. How do I feel safe in a world I cannot control? We live in an age of constant alertness. Phones vibrate, news refreshes, decisions stack on top of decisions. You are expected to plan everything, your career, your finances, your future, your emotional health. And slowly, without noticing, safety becomes something you feel responsible for. If you plan enough, if you prepare enough, if you stay alert enough, then maybe nothing bad will happen. But Psalm 91 gently confronts this illusion. It reminds you that protection does not come from control. It comes from position, because you have made the Lord your dwelling place. Notice what the psalm does not say. It does not say, because you understood everything, because you predicted the future, because you never felt afraid. It says, because you stayed close. That is the prayer hidden inside this psalm. A prayer that says, I don't need to see everything clearly, to trust that I am being guarded. In modern life, fear often hides behind responsibility. You worry because you care. You stay alert because people depend on you. You feel anxious because decisions have consequences. Psalm 91 does not shame that. It redirects it. It says, you were never meant to carry vigilance alone. When the psalm speaks of angels guarding your ways, it is not speaking symbolically to sound poetic. It is speaking relationally. It is reminding you that you are not navigating life unattended. Think about the areas of your life where fear appears most often. Is it your future, your health, your family, your finances? A decision you keep postponing because the risk feels heavy? Inside Psalm 91, a hidden prayer within this psalm meets each one of these areas quietly, not by removing uncertainty, but by redefining who walks with you through it. Modern anxiety tells you, if you miss something, everything could collapse. Psalm 91 whispers something different. Even what you don't see is not outside my reach. That's why the psalm mentions both visible and invisible dangers. Arrows you can see, terrors you can't explain, threats that arrive slowly, threats that arrive suddenly. It names them all, because fear today is rarely singular. And yet, through repetition, the psalm keeps returning to the same truth. You are covered, not occasionally, not temporarily, but consistently. This is why the prayer hidden inside this psalm is not a desperate cry. It is a settled declaration. It does not say, please protect me if you can. It says, you are my refuge. That difference matters, because when protection is based on identity, not circumstance, peace becomes portable. You carry it into meetings, into difficult conversations, into sleepless nights, into decisions without guarantees. Psalm 91 does not promise that life becomes predictable. It promises that you're not exposed. And this changes how you move through the world. You still plan, but without panic. You still decide, but without paralysis. You still care, but without believing everything depends on you. This is what it means to live out a hidden prayer within this psalm, not repeating words mechanically, but allowing them to reshape how you interpret fear. Fear may appear, uncertainty may remain, but authority shifts. Protection becomes your starting point, not something you chase after. And this is where Psalm 91 becomes deeply modern, because modern life does not need louder motivation. It needs deeper reassurance. In the next block, we will gently return to repetition, not to add new ideas, but to let this truth settle. Because peace does not arrive through information. It arrives through remembrance. Stay here a little longer. This part is not about learning something new. It is about letting something settle. Because fear doesn't leave after one reminder. Peace arrives through repetition. That is why Psalm 91 repeats ideas, why it circles the same truth, why it returns again and again: protection, covering, shelter. It is doing something very intentional. It is teaching your heart how to rest. Hidden inside this repetition is a hidden prayer within this psalm that becomes stronger each time it is remembered. You're not exposed, even when you feel unsure, even when answers are delayed, even when nothing visibly changes. You are not uncovered. Protection does not depend on your emotional state. You don't lose it because you feel anxious. You don't lose it because you feel tired. You don't lose it because you feel afraid. Psalm 91 never says, if you feel strong, then you are protected. It says, if you dwell. Dwelling is not about effort. It is about remaining. Remaining when your thoughts want to run. Remaining when fear tries to pull you into the future. Remaining when anxiety tries to convince you that safety is fragile. That is why the psalm uses images of closeness. Shadow, wings, shelter, refuge. A shadow only exists when something is near. Wings only protect what they cover closely. A refuge only works when you stay inside it. This is not distant protection. This is intimate. And hidden inside these images is a hidden prayer within this psalm that sounds like this: I choose nearness over control. Modern life teaches you to stay alert, to anticipate everything, to protect yourself through constant vigilance. Psalm 91 teaches something radically different. It teaches trust without tension. It does not deny danger. It denies fear authority. You will not fear, not because nothing exists to fear, but because fear does not get to rule you. This repetition matters, because fear is repetitive too. It returns in cycles, in thoughts, in bodily sensations. That's why peace must be reinforced. So hear it again, slowly. You are being guarded in ways you cannot see. You are being covered in moments you don't notice. You are not walking alone through uncertainty. Even now, even here, let this truth loop gently. You are not responsible for holding everything together. You were never meant to be. That burden lifts when you allow protection to be something you receive, not something you earn. This is where rest becomes real. Rest is not the absence of responsibility. Rest is the absence of fear-driven control. And Psalm 91 invites you into that rest by repeating the same truth until your nervous system believes it. That is why this moment feels slow. That slowness is intentional, because a hidden prayer within this psalm is not meant to rush past you. It is meant to stay with you after the video ends, after the screen goes dark. When night comes, let the words echo quietly. You are sheltered. You are covered. You are kept. Again, you are sheltered. You are covered. You are kept. This is not denial. This is trust. In the final block, we will gently invite you to respond, not loudly, not with pressure, but honestly, because speaking what you need protection over is often the final step into peace. Before you leave this moment, don't rush back into noise. Stay just a little longer, because what you've heard was not just scripture. It was a hidden prayer within this psalm, slowly revealed. And now, that prayer invites a response, not a performance, not perfect words, just honesty. Take a quiet second and ask yourself, what do I need protection over right now? Not what should I say, not what sounds spiritual. What is actually heavy? Is it your mind constantly racing, never fully resting? Is it your family, people you love but cannot control? Is it a decision, one choice that feels like it could change everything? Or maybe it's something you've never said out loud because you didn't know how to name it. Psalm 91 was written for moments like this, moments when you realize that protection is not something you demand. It is something you receive. And hidden inside the psalm, there's a prayer that says, I don't need to face this alone. That prayer doesn't need volume. It doesn't need explanation. Sometimes it only needs to be acknowledged. That's why I want to invite you gently to write a comment, not for visibility, not for the algorithm alone, but because naming what you're carrying often loosens its grip. You can write a sentence. You can write one word. You can write, Amen. If that's all you have the strength for, this space is safe. Many people reading the comments will recognize their own fears in your words, and that quiet recognition is often where healing begins. When you write, you're not exposing weakness. You're stepping into shared faith, and faith grows stronger when it's not silent. Before we close, let's return one last time to the heart of this psalm, not as repetition, but as rest. You are not unprotected, even if answers are delayed, even if nothing visibly changes tomorrow, even if fear tries to return later tonight. Protection does not disappear between prayers. Psalm 91 never promised a life without uncertainty. It promised a place to stand within it. And a hidden prayer within this psalm is not limited to ancient words. It continues. Every time you choose trust over panic, every time you choose nearness over control, every time you return to this refuge. As this video ends, you don't need to rush. If you want, let it replay. Not because you miss something, but because peace deepens with repetition. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying. May you rest tonight under the shelter of the Most High,